Hi folks, Slick Sizes here. Now this is an interesting Spyderco knife, and I can't make up my mind whether I absolutely love it or really don't like it at all, but I'm sure it's one of those two. It's not a knife that you can be halfway on. The first thing to say about it is the Spyderco Drunken is its name. And this is, it fits in well with some of the other knives in this high-end series because it is designed in conjunction with Dmitry Sinkovich, who is a Russian knife designer, so that goes quite well with the Cherepakovs and the Shirogorovs here. And but it's a Spyderco, and as a Spyderco, it has some similarities to the Spidey Chef that we saw before, and some things they've done better than the Spidey Chef, some things they've not done as well. But oddly, this is quite a chunk more expensive than the Spidey Chef. So let's have a quick look around it. We have on the front a sculpted carbon fibre scale. Now it actually has a nested stainless steel insert in the behind the carbon fibre. So you've got the lightweight of the carbon fibre, and then it's and strength of carbon fibre that is backed up with steel. Well, and whilst I'm sure that makes it very strong, in a way it kind of undermines the benefit of having carbon fibre. To my mind anyway, which is the lightness. You add the steel back in, and this is, I think it's quite a bit lighter than the Spidey Chef, but it's still, I think that's more because it's sort of slightly smaller all round. You've got this carbon fibre, you've got a couple of rather bright screws, and then you've got this quite attractive pivot. Now the pivot looks again like a proprietorial thing that might require some special key to open, but in actual fact it's just really a Torx screw. Now, so that's the carbon fibre side. Then we turn it over, and like the Cherepakovs Raven, we have on the other side a titanium side. Now, unlike the Raven that we saw before, there's been some attempt to make this side look attractive too. So again, we've got the proprietorial looking pivot, but in actual fact it's just a Torx. I notice there's Torx on both sides, and I haven't tried taking this to bits, but I suspect the fact it has Torx on both sides means it's probably a free spinning pivot, which is not always a good thing. Again, you've got two screws holding it together. You've got a single screw holding on the clip. The clip is very plain. Now, it's not reversible, unlike the Spidey Chef, but for many reasons, I think that's okay, because this knife is right-handed only, really. But the clip just, it's not inset into the titanium. I think it's just plain steel rather than titanium. There's nothing wrong with it, but in a way it's a bit of a letdown. Then we've got a back spacer in here with the lanyard slot cut in it. I think that's quite nicely done, actually. And it's a sort of dark blue colour, as are incidentally the clip and the pivot on both sides. Now, the other thing you've got though on this side is there's the milling. The milling is the same pattern as on the carbon fibre side, with the same sort of stepping in it as you get on the other side. So actually, it's like they've not just stuck on a plain back to this knife that's purely utilitarian. They've actually gone to some effort to make it attractive. And you know, compared to Chebrikov, which is just so very plain, they've gone to some effort to make this look attractive, even compared to the Spidey Chef, which again is just plain. But then again, this knife is quite a bit more expensive. Now, let's have a look at this knife open. Now, I think it takes on almost a new perspective when you open it, because the sort of crank in the handle is more evident than it was when it was closed. And I think the blade here, I think they call it a drop point. I think it's more like a modified sheepfoot or even a modified Warncliffe, with a pretty deep grind in it. There's a little bit of a flat sweat at the top, a flat area at the top, which I think actually would be quite useful when it comes to sharpening it. The other thing though to notice here on this side of the knife is Spyderco CPM S90V. Now, I'm not wholly a fan of S90V as a steel, but it's very good edge retaining properties, because it can be quite hard. Now, obviously I haven't tested this, so I don't know how hard it is, what the Rockwell number would be, but if it's over the 60 mark, then this should wear very, very well, or very, very little. It's probably more accurate. So that will keep its edge. I'm not a huge fan of S90V. I prefer M390 or something like that, but be happy with that. Now the other thing is, this is made in Taichung, in Taiwan, which is where some of the best fit and finish knives in the world come from. And of course, it also has, if I can get it to focus, Dmitry Sinkovich's mark and Sinkovich design on the blade there, jumping on the back there. Now, the one thing that did strike me about this knife was it's very like the Spidey Chef. Now, they're two knives from different designers, but that crank shape of the handle, that blade shape, is very, very similar across the two knives. I mean, they're similar but different. LC200N and S90V are big differences, but also this has got a sort of stone wash finish. This has got a satin finish. This is carbon fibre and this is steel. The pivots are much more plain and simple on the Spidey Chef. And when we turn them over, it's the same sort of relief in the wrong place, or to my mind in the wrong place, but the Sinkovich one here, it's got a little bit more design to it. The Spidey Chef is very much plainer and simpler. The cutout for the lock bar is much more elegant on the Drunken than it is on the Spidey Chef. Also works a little bit better than the Spidey Chef one does. That's a whole different point. Having that nice backspacer with the lanyard bringing it much nicer than just the plain hole that the Spidey Chef has. But I do think overall there's a lot of similarity in these two knives. There's a little bit more belly on the Spidey Chef, and it sort of maybe does the chopping things on a chopping board just that little bit better. But this is pretty good, and it's probably a more attractive knife overall. Now, in terms of size, you'll see there it's a tad smaller than the Spidey Chef, but not a huge amount. But for my standard comparators, the Sebenza 31s, that's the small. That's the large. And you can see it's between the two. And it's almost as big as the 31, and certainly has a very similar amount of cutting edge. If you look at those together, you can see they're very, very similar in cutting edge length, though the handle on the Drunken is a little bit shorter, but it's also a little bit more ergonomic. Now, as I say, the clip isn't reversible, but that's probably just as well because, again, like the Spidey Chef, you've got the lock bar covering the Spidey hole. Just move these out of the way a little bit, and I'll show you what I mean. So you can see the Spidey hole there. It's got a nice cutout, so you can reach it easily with if you're right-handed. But the left-hand side, it's obscured, almost 50% obscured by the lock bar. But also, if you try to open that with your left thumb, you're inclined to put pressure on that lock bar, and that will stop it from opening easily. So this is not a knife that I would tend to go for, but only really because it's a dedicated right hand knife, and I'm my right hand has been bad for a long time, but since my recent fall, my right hand is almost useless. Very little I can do with it. Well, there we are. This is Sinkovich designed Spyderco Drunken, which I quite like. If I was right-handed, I think it's a knife that I could be inclined to go for. But like I say, it's one of these, some features of it I really, really like, and others are just a little bit frustrating, particularly the blocking of the thumb hole and the external relief there. And I don't really like the clip very much either. It's not that it's that it's a steel clip, but I think it is. Maybe titanium. But it's more that it looks cheap in comparison to the knife. Now, I know I've often defended Rockstead with their steel clips on their horrendously expensive knives, but they actually do it quite well, and I just don't think that is done so well. Steel clips do work though. Anyway, I think that's enough rambling on about this little knife here. The Spyderco Drunken. So if you like this stuff, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of these, then please subscribe and remember to ring the bell. Thank you very much. Bye.